Excellent. Well, one of our theses here at Vestigo is we really like companies that go after a very specific and underserved group of people that can then pivot to larger things. And, what better way to find a group of people that are underserved than people who have sort of fallen through the cracks of an old regulatory framework. And, millennials with massive amounts of student loan debt, fall right in there. And I guess to that end, there have been two recent developments as it sort of pertains to regulation in the 401k space. The IRS guidance that came out, I believe, in August that would, allow employers to match 401k dollars towards student loan repayment, and then the retirement reform measures aimed at empowering 401k participation for small plans. Can you kind of give us some color on how you guys are thinking about that at Vault and how this might change how you do things or just give you more traction, or I guess just sort of elaborate maybe?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's very rare in any sort of company's life cycle that you have, potential meaningful regulatory tailwind, regulatory change that actually can have massive impact on your business. Now, what happens a lot of time when there's regulatory change, people come in and they try to fill that void. The good news is we're already here into the space, then we have that change, and that sort of opens up a lot of doors. So, as you pointed out, I think there's two big things here that, even since August, and so a very short time frame has really sort of changed the trajectory of our business, and I think everyone in the space. The one you mentioned is the most recent PLR, which was specific to Abbott Labs, but the IRS came out and said, hey, look, general terms, an employer can now provide a 401k match contribution to an employee's 401k based not on their 401k contribution, but rather their student debt repayment. So for us, this has been something that we have been working on and talking to both policymakers and large financial institutions around how do we sort of push this concept, because it marries the best of both worlds, right? It's potentially solving two big problems. It's creating sort of behavioral consistency. Don't stop what you're doing. You have to pay off this debt. This is your biggest financial challenge that you have. But tying that to, well, as a company, we have to do something that's a little bit more proactive. So this is huge for us because what we're seeing in the market is two things. One, both companies, particularly large companies, realizing what a powerful thing this is and moving forward with these types of plans. So even though it isn't a codified, piece of regulation yet, we feel pretty strongly, as is the rest of the world, it will be, and it's just a matter of time. But companies are getting far ahead of that and actually putting these plans in place now because they need to. It's not a question of, oh, this is cool, this is kind of interesting. We have this and cold brew on tap. No, this is actually core and really, really important. So we're seeing that from the employer perspective, but we're also seeing that from the provider perspective, right? So large 401k providers, payroll companies, and benefits platforms are all sitting there saying, wait a minute, this is massive opportunity. We need to be a piece of this. We need to have our own solution. So this has opened up a ton of opportunity for us too, from a partnership and distribution perspective. So that's one side of it. I think the small employer side, it's interesting. I mean, this has been something that's, been moved to try to have sort of solutions for over the last decade. And I think you're talking, specifically about, MEPs and kind of this combining of employers, in sort of a single plan, to offer sort of more benefits to a larger population of people. And I think this is super, super important. You sort of think about even in startup land, companies that you guys deal with in your portfolio. I think, if you surveyed it, you'd probably be hard pressed to find even a single startup that has a 401k plan, yeah. Right? Why? Well, they're expensive. They're hard to sort of manage. And, our workforce is, these types of people who aren't going to participate anyhow. I think if you make that ease of entry, lower that sort of bar of entry, make something very consumable and accessible, you're just going to have, more accessibility and more people participating in these plans. And it's going to be part of the regular benefits conversation, which for small companies, it just isn't because it becomes cost prohibitive. So I think It's a good thing.
Yeah, awesome. I really appreciate that. And so sort of with all this in mind, for all the heads of HR or CEOs, Mr. Bezos, if you're watching, Could you tell us, Matt, what Vault is going to do, for these people? Why does Vault need to be part of an employee benefit plan?
Yeah, I think, I think we're quickly moving to this world. I mean, so if there's a couple things, right? If you're serious about attracting and retaining the best talent, this is an absolute must-have benefit that needs to sit on your platform. I think we sit here today and, we're kind of climbing, we're the first to sort of, climb the mountain, and we're on the mountaintop, sort of yelling to everybody like, hey, you're missing this wonderful view, like get up here. But once you've cleared that trail, now I think, it becomes closer to kind of new normal, right? So if you're serious about attracting and retaining the best talent, you need to have this on as part of your benefit offering. It's not a nice to have. This isn't pet insurance. This is an absolute need to have benefit. And if you're really serious about diversity in the workforce, I think you really need to think strongly about adding this type of benefit too. So again, if we're talking to all the, the heads of HR out there and leaders of companies, these are two core things: attraction and retention, and diversity. And I think the diversity thing sort of gets underplayed a little bit, right? Who has the most student debt out there? It is populations of people that you would probably think. And who are the populations of people who aren't contributing to 401k plans? There's a strong correlation connection between that. Well, let's name them. Who are they? It's women, millennials, Gen Z, African Americans, and Latinx. Those are the populations of people that are most negatively impacted by student debt, and more importantly, not being able to take their advantage of other company benefits like a 401k match that your contemporaries are, right? If you look at, 401k participation rates, just to take Caucasians and Asians and then Latinx. Caucasian Asians participate at a rate of about 85%. Latinx is less than 50. So it's not little. This is massive. So, it's a long way of saying, if you're serious about bringing on best people and keeping them, and if you're serious about diversity and diversification in the diversity in the workforce, these are must-have benefits, must-have.
Well, there you have it. Matt, well, we appreciate your erudition. We are extremely proud of what you and the team are doing over at Vault. We really appreciate your time, and thanks so much. We'll have to do this again soon.
My pleasure. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you.